What you're going to hear is an 8-minute story of what I call responses to God, or responses to the leading of the Spirit. This prayer, the prayer that's prayed in this church, which is similar to prayers prayed in faith communities of all faiths, is, "O God, Almighty One, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven." And the 20-year journey of RCHP-Affordable Housing Corporation, while non-sectarian, is a story of earnest, whimsical, fallible and frail, beautiful and breathtaking responses to the leading of one who is beyond ourselves, one whose spirit infuses our spirit. In 2005, Gary and Lilium Costa, a couple in our church, was trying to become foster parents for medically fragile babies. And every Sunday they would pray in the church, "God, help us to get through the process of becoming foster parents." This led us to have a conference to learn more about foster care in the state of New Jersey. At that conference, in the parlor, somebody said the term "youth aging out of foster care," which I'd never heard as a term before. We learned there was 20,000 kids a year who are emancipated out of the system into life alone. At our May annual meeting of the church in this room, we floated 2 recommendations. The first was, can we sell the airspace above the church and allow a new corporation called RCHP-Affordable Housing Corporation to own the apartments and the offices on that roof? 2006, we formed a board. We raised funds. We learned about zoning boards. We learned about community concerns. And Arena Court opened on Valentine's Day of 2008. We started dreaming about how we might be able to support veterans. We had been preaching in this church with a lot of frustration about war in Afghanistan and Iraq. 2009 and 2010, we were able to acquire All Saints Apartments just around the corner, 1 block away, and to turn All Saints Church, Episcopal Church, into All Saints Apartments and make 11 apartments for veterans who had at one point been homeless and had spent time at the VA, maybe in the domiciliary or other programs, and were now ready for community living again. 2015, the kids of our church stood up in front and sang the song, "I Want Jesus to Walk With Me," one Sunday in the summer. And in between it, they shared their reflections on a documentary that they'd seen on children in a Lebanese refugee camp for Syrian children. We had no idea of the complexities of refugee resettlement, but we jumped in, and by 2016, we then were an official refugee resettlement corporation called Interfaith Rise. By the fall of 2016, we signed our first contracts with USCRI. In 2018, also, the lease-sublease program started in earnest. We wanted to rent units to as many people as we possibly could. This past year, we have been paying $6 million to landlords in New Jersey, with more than $5 million of the $6 million being paid by the tenants themselves. These are all tenants who could not qualify on their own to rent a place in New Jersey. Over 1,000 people now live in the units that we lease and sublease. 2019, Marketplace was launched. Golden Grace Marketplace was a way for us to say, as we serve people coming from other places, let's remember the whole world is beautiful, and we want to celebrate things from people living in home country as well. We added a company now, a program to help do case management for kids coming across the border in 2019. In 2020, we also opened a farm, Global Grace Farm. It's a place for refugees to grow their own food and for relationships to get made, and then for us to eat the food at the cafe and for other people to help support it by buying farm shares. We also launched Global Grace Health, Dr. Norma and Surat and others. That has been a lifeline. Something like 15,000 people had a COVID vaccine out of the back of an RV. The fall of 2021, Kabul fell. USCRI said, can you go from being a mom and pop shop to a big box store? And with fear and trembling, we did. We went from Interfaith Rise having about 10 employees to, at its highest, it had about 140 employees. Additionally, the needs of the unaccompanied minors program grew. We had 46 staff working just with case management for 1,200 kids per year coming into the state of New Jersey by themselves across the border. In 2022, a private grant gave us the opportunity to get serious about re-entry, and we started housing folks who had been in state prison. And this then led to the Department of Corrections funding us every year since then. In 2023, we expanded to Trenton and Neptune and to New Brunswick and to Jersey City. We were expecting 800 refugees and then collapse last January, 172 refugees into the fiscal year. All things stopped. Despite all things stopping, nothing stopped. We've been serving 3,500 people this year in 2025 across the board. We opened the Upcycle Shop this year, and we have 3 major new projects underway. By year's end, we will be smaller. We will have less funding. A lot of the things that have allowed us to succeed have been because of the shared hope that we've seen in government and in local community and in partnerships. There's a lot of hope there in a lot of pieces of that, but not in the pieces of it where the money is. And so that will dramatically change aspects of what we've been able to do. And yet it won't change who we are or what the spirit is of what we do.